Have you ever heard a question that just feels wrong, like your gut screaming, but you can't explain why? Liars rely on five sneaky lines to control the narrative. Miss this, us, and you could fall for it again. Stick around and hit subscribe if you're ready to see the truth. Some questions aren't really questions at all. They're traps designed not to get an answer, but to control the conversation. You might have heard one and thought, wait, why do I feel like I'm suddenly the bad guy? That's not an overreaction, that's your gut trying to wake you up. Certain people, especially the ones who lie with a straight face, use questions to shift focus, dodge blame, and flip the narrative. They aren't curious, they're strategic. And if you don't see it coming, you'll walk right into the mind game. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 5 questions that are often used by manipulators. Not to find the truth, but to hide from it. If someone's ever made you question your reaction more than their action, chances are one of these lines was involved. Let's get into it. Question 1. Why are you being so dramatic? This one hits fast and hard. You bring something serious to the table. Maybe they lied, broke a promise, or said one thing but did another. And before you can explain how it made you feel, they hit you with, why are you being so dramatic? Let's break that down. It sounds innocent, maybe even playful. But what it really does is flip the spotlight onto you. Suddenly, you're no longer talking about what they did. Now you're justifying how you feel. It's subtle, but dangerous. Because the moment you defend your reaction, you've already stepped into their frame. You're now playing their game. Liars love this question because it paints them as calm and rational, and you as emotional and unstable. It's not about the truth. It's about creating a version of reality where you're the problem. It's a smokescreen, a shiny distraction. So the next time someone asks why you're being dramatic, pause. Ask yourself, are they trying to understand you, or are they trying to silence you? There's a big difference. Question 2. Do you even trust me? Here's where things get emotional. You've caught them doing something shady. Maybe you found a message that didn't sit right. Maybe they conveniently left out a key detail. So you bring it up, and they don't explain. They don't clarify. Instead, they say, do you even trust me? That line might sound like vulnerability, but in this context, it's anything but. This is a common deflection tactic. It takes the attention off their behavior and puts the emotional burden on you. Now, instead of them answering for their actions, you're stuck trying to prove you're not distrustful. It's like they throw a curveball right when the conversation is getting real. People who use this line during conflict aren't usually seeking connection. They're dodging responsibility. It's a pressure move. Subtle guilt-tripping disguised as an emotional question. Here's the truth. Trust isn't something you get to demand after betraying it. It's built with consistency, not clever phrasing. So if someone uses this line to avoid accountability, you don't need to answer them. Their question already gave you the answer. Question 3. So what do you want me to say? Now we're in the performance zone. You've laid out the facts. You've explained the hurt and their reply. So what do you want me to say? Let's unpack that. This question sounds like frustration or confusion, but it's really a passive way to avoid admitting guilt. They aren't asking because they don't know what to say. They're asking so you will say it for them. It's a bait move. They want you to hand them a script, a few lines of fake apology they can repeat so they look like the bigger person without actually changing anything. It's not real remorse, it's role-playing. And if you fall for it, you'll find yourself coaching someone on how to care about you. That's exhausting and unfair. Real accountability doesn't need prompting. It steps up on its own. So when someone asks this question, what they're often saying is, I don't want to admit I was wrong, but if you tell me what to say, I'll pretend I did. You deserve better than that. Question 4. Can we just move on already? This one shows up when the truth starts getting uncomfortable. You're finally getting close to the root of the issue and suddenly they shut it down with, can we just move on already? Sounds reasonable, right? Who wants to dwell on negativity? But that's exactly the trick. This line isn't about progress, it's about escape. They don't want to resolve things, they want to skip the hard part and get to the part where everything's fine again, without doing the work to earn it. Liars hate long conversations. Because the longer you talk, the more their story unravels. The more you press, the closer you get to the truth they're trying to avoid. So they rush to end it. But moving on too fast doesn't solve anything. It just presses pause on a conversation that will come back later, usually louder, and with more damage. Genuine healing includes accountability. If someone's always in a hurry to just move on, ask yourself, are they trying to grow or just trying to make me stop talking? There's a difference, and it matters. Question 5. Are you really going to throw everything away over this? Now we've reached the guilt trip, the final play. When all else fails, when you've stood your ground, held onto your facts, and refused to back down, this is the line that shows up. Are you really going to throw everything away over this? Let's pause on that. This question is heavy. It drags in your memories, your shared history, your emotional investments, and piles them on top of your current pain. Suddenly, you are framed as the destroyer, not them. It's clever and cruel because it turns your boundary into betrayal. But here's the truth. Anything worth keeping doesn't make you compromise your peace just to hold on to it. If someone's actions cause the damage, then you choosing to walk away isn't throwing everything away. It's choosing yourself. And no one has the right to make you feel guilty for protecting your well-being. If the price of staying is self-betrayal, then it's simply too expensive. Psychological pattern of liars. Now that we've peeled back the layers on these 5 shady questions, it's time to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because here's the thing, none of this is accidental. These questions aren't random, they don't come out of nowhere. They're part of a pattern, a strategy that certain people fall into when they want to control a situation without taking responsibility. It's not always loud or obvious. In fact, it's usually the opposite. It's quiet, casual, even calm. That's what makes it so sneaky. See, liars don't just manipulate facts, they manipulate focus. They steer the spotlight away from their behavior and aim it at your reaction. And the moment you start defending how you feel, the truth quietly slips out the back door. It's all about narrative control. They know if they can confuse you just long enough, make you doubt your memory, your emotions, or your tone, they don't have to answer the original question. They win without proving anything. That's the goal. And the wildest part? A lot of people who use these tactics wouldn't even call themselves liars. They'd say things like, I just didn't want to fight. I was trying to keep the peace. You always take things the wrong way. They don't always lie with malice. Sometimes they lie with self-preservation. But the damage, it's the same. Because whether someone's dodging the truth to protect you or to protect themselves, the result is that you're left holding the emotional mess they didn't want to clean up. And let's be clear, this kind of manipulation isn't always a one-time thing. For some people, it's a pattern, a habit, something they've done so often, they might not even realize how deeply it affects others. But that doesn't make it okay. You can be understanding without accepting disrespect. You can show empathy without excusing manipulation. The key is recognizing the signs early, before they get in too deep. So, how do you protect yourself? By remembering this, clarity is your defense. The moment you stop reacting emotionally and start observing patterns, everything shifts. You don't have to argue. You don't have to convince them. You just have to see them clearly. When you hear, "Why are you being so dramatic?" you think, they're flipping the script. When they say, "Do you even trust me?" you hear, they're avoiding the real issue. This shift, from confusion to recognition, is everything. It's where your power starts coming back. And the more familiar you become with the psychological blueprint of a liar, the easier it gets to pause, breathe, and stay grounded. Because now you're not caught off guard. You're prepared. You're not walking into a conversation hoping for honesty. You're walking in with a flashlight, ready to shine it on any cracks in the story. Let's take it even further. If someone consistently uses these types of questions, and every conversation somehow turns into you defending yourself, it's time to ask, is this a communication issue or a control issue? Because liars often blur the line. They turn disagreement into guilt, accountability into conflict, and truth into something that makes you look like the problem. But remember, asking questions isn't wrong. Manipulating through questions is. There's a difference between someone trying to understand you and someone trying to corner you. Healthy people ask to connect. Manipulators ask to control. And here's the beautiful part. Once you've seen the pattern, you can't unsee it. You start hearing these lines not as questions, but as signals, warnings, indicators that you're dealing with someone who's more invested in saving face than saving the relationship. You stop internalizing their doubt, and you start trusting your own clarity. So what do you do next? You don't have to explode. You don't have to clap back. You just stop feeding the narrative. Instead of reacting emotionally, try something like, "That's not the question I asked." I'm not here to argue, I'm here to understand. We can talk when we're both ready to be honest. That's power, that's emotional discipline, and that's how you protect your peace without lowering yourself to their tactics. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about catching liars, it's about refusing to be rewritten by them. Your reality is valid, your emotions are valid, and anyone who tries to confuse you out of your truth doesn't belong in a position of emotional influence over your life. So stay sharp, stay grounded, and trust what you notice the first time. That gut feeling you keep brushing off, it's not drama, it's not overthinking, it's wisdom. So here's the takeaway. These 5 questions may sound harmless, even casual, but if they always show up right when you're standing up for yourself, pay attention. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. And the more you recognize it, the harder it is for anyone to twist your story, your truth, or your voice ever again. Now it's your turn. Have you ever been hit with one of these lines or heard a different one that made you question your own reality? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your story. And if this video helped you see something clearly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're not just spotting liars here. We're reclaiming our clarity, one truth at a time.